and welcome back to CEO.CA's Inside the Boardroom. Today, I'm excited to be joined by Lon Shaver, President of Silvercorp Metals. Lon, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, thank you. Great to be here.
So it's certainly been an exciting time. You spoke with CEO.CA at PDAC back in March. Since then, you've seen some very impressive share price appreciation, largely driven by M&A and operational efficiencies, record revenues coming out of the Ying mining district in China. Let's start with Ying. Walk us through what the last 6 months has been like.
Well, I think the last 6 months has really been a validation of the power that Ying represents, and that is in terms of low-cost silver production. And with the higher silver prices we're seeing in the market right now, that has led to higher revenues, and those revenues have fallen to the bottom line in both earnings and cash flow.
Fantastic. And maybe can you give us a bit of detail on some of those operational efficiency gains that you've been seeing? What are some steps you've taken to bring down those costs at Ying?
Well, I don't even think we've seen the best of that yet. I think what we're seeing now is really just the ongoing performance. The strategy and the optimization plan we have for Ying is really in its infancy right now. What we're seeing is really just the operation on a steady state responding to those market dynamics. But going forward, with an increase in throughput from the mines, an increase in throughput at the mill, and some efficiencies with more mechanization, we expect Ying to continue to be a very strong asset for us going forward. And that's what was validated in the updated technical report that we've published.
Fantastic. And back in March, there was also discussion around M&A. You ended up closing on the acquisition of Adventus in July. Walk us through that process. What was it like? And maybe what did you see in Adventus that made them an exciting target?
Well, we've been very clear and consistent that our strategy has included growth through M&A. And what really attracted us to Adventus was the fact that the Domo project in Ecuador has its full permits to go into construction. And we made that very clear in terms of our discussions to the market, also some of the past attempts that we've made. It's really been focused on looking at projects with permits. And we've been following Adventus and the Domo project over the years. And as noted in January, they received the full permits to go ahead. So when it became apparent that our other target wasn't coming our way, we pivoted and began to look very closely again at Domo. And that was clearly the catalyst for us to make the Adventus acquisition.
Great. And is Domo fully permitted? Are there any other milestones that you need to achieve before you could start progressing to that mine building stage?
Not really. I mean, there's always in these cases, minor ancillary permits that are needed for this and that, but those are applied for and typically received in due course. For example, we don't need an explosive permit right now because we're not doing any drilling and blasting, but that's implied that will be applied for and be received in due course when we need it to start actual mining.
Okay, great. And Domo copper gold project, I guess, represents a diversification away from not just silver, but also geographically, moving from China into South America. What does this mean for Silvercorp? And do you have local teams on the ground who will help you navigate the mining permits and necessary government deals there?
Yeah, we do have a local team that's come through the Adventus acquisition, as well as with our partners, Salazar Resources, who are Ecuadorian-focused management team. So they've done a great job at getting the work done to get the project to the stage. And going forward with the team on the ground, some recent additions that we've made, and some additional parties that we'll probably bring on here to focus in specific areas. We feel very confident that we've got this project well in hand to build the next mine in Ecuador.
Fantastic. And I guess, what is it about Domo that attracted you to the project and ultimately to Adventus? I mean, I know it's pretty low capex, $250 million, and obviously copper and gold, very exciting commodities in the moment. But what made it stand out compared to other comparables?
Well, I think that's it. It's grade. It's also the size in terms of capex. It's a very manageable project. It's flotation, which we're very familiar with in terms of producing concentrates. We're doing that at our mines in China. And so we see that as being an excellent, call it, starter project for us to build in South America.
And Adventus had some other properties in the portfolio. Are those going to be actively advanced as well, or is the focus just on El Domo right now?
Well, there's a second project called Condor, which has a gold resource that we think is very interesting. We're going to be taking a look at that one, and we have a bit of a different view as to how we could develop that one. There's another sort of long list of other projects, mostly earlier stage. We'll have a look at that and we'll make some decisions going forward, but we haven't really wrapped our mind around all of those other projects yet.
Great. And back in March, when you spoke with CEO.CA at PDAC, you mentioned you had an approximately 27% stake of New Pacific in Bolivia. Do you still hold that stake? And if so, are there any updates there?
Yes. So we do hold that stake and remain supportive of the activities at New Pacific. Since that time, New Pacific has made two significant announcements. One was a PFS on the Silver Sand project, which largely confirmed all the good economics of the PEA for that lead project. And then just recently, a week ago, they published or announced the results of a PEA for project number 2, Carangas, which also have been quite positive, showing Carangas to be a project with lots of optionality. And the initial focus of this PEA is on a discrete silver-focused operation at the beginning, which it looks like a very manageable project for a number of companies that would want to grow in the silver space.
Great. Thank you very much for that overview. I want to change focus just a little. You announced share buybacks recently. Walk us through that decision and what it means for investors.
Well, I think to be clear, what we've announced is the renewal of our normal course issuer bid program, which just is a program in place that would allow us under certain conditions to buy back. It doesn't mean that we have or will buy back. It's just for all management teams, it's good to have all the tools in the toolbox available at your disposition, depending on whatever circumstances arise.
Great. Thank you for clarifying that. I guess looking at the broader commodity markets, it's been a big year for gold and silver. We've seen significant M&A in the last couple of months, almost $12 billion worth of M&A activity in a time period, early autumn, that is not typically very busy. What does this mean more broadly for the market? Are we seeing a change in the cycle here? What does it mean for Silvercorp, and maybe what's your perspective on why it's happening now?
Well, I think whether it's happening now specifically, I think is less important rather than the fact that it's companies looking to seek scale and broader, more diversified platforms, which really does tie into what is our M&A strategy. And so when we look around the sector, and in particular in the silver sector, people are looking for scale and for growth, and this ties into what is a strong market for the commodities, if not necessarily for the share prices.
I guess when we're looking ahead over the next 6 to 12 months for Silvercorp, what can investors expect in terms of updates?
Well, it'll be continued delivery on our program, mainly focused at Ying in terms of optimization, as well as just the continued solid operating performance in the strong silver price environment. With respect to Ecuador, moving ahead and making a formal announcement of commencement of construction at El Domo, discussing our plans and budgets to take a look at the Condor project. And then we remain active looking at other M&A ideas and trying to see sort of what's going to be the next leg of growth for the company going forward.
Great. And I guess just to wrap up here, Lon, in your view, what makes Silvercorp unique, and why is now an exciting time for investors to get involved?
Well, I think despite the share price performance that you mentioned, we still trade at a discount to our peers. But our assets continue to perform and deliver, and obviously that's shown in our financial results in this strong silver environment. And we've got plans to continue, improving those assets as we grow and diversify and build out a bigger platform. We think that will attract more investors and a more diverse group of investors, which I think will lead to share price appreciation.
Great, Bolt. Lon, congratulations on the acquisition of Adventus and continued success at Ying. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.